Hey awesome people, welcome to another episode of Sew Addict. So today's episode is actually a two-part video. Now this is the second part of the two-piece day party wear. Now I'm going to be showing you how to make the Palazzo pants with this look. Now I am absolutely proud of the way these pants came out. They look super cute, super amazing, and a definite staple for this summer. So this video actually shows you step by step how to put this pants together. And going into the pattern I used, again, it's a V9320 very easy Vogue pattern. Again, I did do the B and D portion of this, so this actually shows you the Palazzo pants, and then you could basically interchange them with anything, wear them on whatever top you want, whatever shirt, anything basically, or you could wear them with the crop top I created in the other video. So if you want to check out and make that crop top, please click the link after this video. So I'm super excited to having you guys here on my channel today. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure to hit down that red subscribe button to see more awesome videos from me, and let's just get started. So just briefly going into the materials we need, you want to get about 2.5 yards of fabric and also a zipper closure, about a 12 to a 14-inch zipper, and also we need our pattern. Now you don't need any custom sizes for the pattern, just make sure to have the right waist and hip measurements to pick your pattern. So the first pattern we're going to look at is number 16, which is the pocket pattern. You want to make sure to cut 2 main fabrics and 2 lining fabrics. Also number 17 is cut unfold, so you want to make sure to cut 1 main fabric and an interfacing fabric. And then we have 18 is cut twice. You want to make sure to cut 2 of this and also 2 interfacing. And we have 19, which is for the belt loops. You just want to make sure to cut 1 out of this pattern. So after going through this, you also have your main pant leg. Now this is the front. Now you want to make sure to cut 2 patterns of this. Now also when you're sewing this up, you also want to make sure to notch everything. Anywhere you see any small triangles or any of these circles, make sure to actually notch. And we're also going to be tracing out all these pleat lines from those circles all around. Make sure to trace them out, or make sure to be able to print them in your fabric where you're able to sew them down later on. I'm going to be showing you guys how to sew them down later on in the video. So we have all the marks. You want to make sure to trace them out. Now we also have our back pattern, same thing. The dart is a little bit different in the back. The front was a pleat, but this is actually a dart, so you want to make sure to actually trace this with your tracing wheel or any pattern making paper you have. Make sure to trace that out on your fabric, and also make sure to notch and trace all the circles as well. So after doing this, now we're just going to start with actually sewing it together. So the first thing you want to do is to actually sew down the pleats in the front. Now we're going to sew down the pleat by taking your fabric and actually folding it down in half. Now I'm following the lines that are already there. As you guys can see, I'm marking this so you guys can really see it, but I'm following the line already there. I'm just going to go right ahead and actually sew from the top of our front pattern to that bottom circle. So you want to make sure to sew this down on a straight line from the top to this bottom circle. So now I've sewed this down, as you guys can see, and then we're actually going to press this flat to create our pleat. So you're just going to make sure to fold down your pattern this way. As you guys can see, I'm pressing this down to make my pleat. Now we're just going to go on the iron and actually press this nice and neat. You don't want to press it all the way to the bottom, but just press it a little bit below that seam. So I have actually pressed one of my patterns here. As you guys can see, I press this down so it's laying nice and flat. You want to make sure to do this for both pattern pieces. So I went ahead and actually did that, and now we're going to sew the back. Now the back is a little easier than the front. The back is just a regular dart, so you want to make sure to pin this appropriately, and also make sure that your lines are actually matching, and make sure that you are taking in the right amount on both sides. So I have both my front and my back all sewn up, as you guys can see. So this is just one leg of the pant, by the way. So now we're actually going to attach the leg of the pants together, as you guys can see, right in the crotch area or in the inseam. So you want to make sure to sew this down about a 5/8 of an inch. So I went ahead and actually sewed this down and also pressed it out really nice and flat. Again, you want to make sure to do this for the other pant leg. Whatever you do for one pant leg, make sure you do for the other. So now, as you guys can see, I have both pant legs all sewn up. You want to make sure to put them together, right sides facing right sides, fronts facing front, back facing back. Now we're going to actually sew down the crotch area. So I'm just making sure to attach my seams together, making sure they match, and also making sure that I have that circle was traced from the pattern. It is about 10 inches away from the top. So that circle is where we're going to attach the zipper. So you want to make sure to stitch from that point all the way around to the front. Now we're having that 10-inch opening right there at the back for our zipper. So you want to make sure to stitch from that point all the way around to the front. So I have this all stitched up, as you guys can see, from that point all the way around to the front, and have this opening for my zipper at the back of the pant. So this part is actually where we putting our zipper, and I do have an invisible zipper tutorial if you guys want to check that out later on in this video, but I'm just gonna quickly walk through this a little faster. But again, if you want to check it out, just make sure to click the link after this video. So now I'm just laying my invisible zipper in, making sure it's nice and flat and also not puckering anywhere. And I'm just going to sew this down in the sewing machine. So as you guys can see, I went ahead and actually sewed it down in the sewing machine. It's laying nice and flat, and it is invisible in quote. Now we're just gonna go right ahead and actually attach our pockets. Now the pockets are supposed to come, you know, one in your main fabric and one in your lining, but my lining is basically the same as my main fabric. So the first thing you want to do is to actually attach the lining piece to the front. Now, as you guys can see, you want to make sure to attach this right sides facing right sides, and the edge, this edge, along the edge of your actual front. So, and then you also want to bring this down a little further away from your top. Now there's an actual line here on the pattern that shows you how far you're supposed to come down, but it is about 1 3/4 to 2 inches. So we're just attaching this at the edge, and we're going to sew this down at 1/4 inch, just a little bit away from the edge. So make sure to do this on both sides of the front. When you've done this on both sides of the front, you want to make sure to do the same thing for the back as well. The back is going to take using the main fabric for your pockets, and we're going to basically do the same thing right sides to right sides, and attach the edge away a little bit from the top, and we're going to sew this down at about 1/4 inch. So you want to make sure to do this for both sides as well. So I went ahead and actually sewed it on the sewing machine. As you guys can see, I have it all sewn up, and now it is actually spread far apart. So you guys can see everything is all sewn up nice and neat, and now we are going to attach the front pocket and the back pocket together around the outer edge. You don't want to sew this section. Now you just want to sew from this edge all the way around to the other side, making sure this part of the pocket is still open. So I'm just pinning this down so you guys can see how to sew it. So I went ahead and again, I actually sewed this down on the sewing machine. As you guys can see, everything is nice and neat. And now we're just going to go right ahead and actually finish the side seams of our pant. Now, finishing up the side seams, again, as you guys can see, I'm marking those lines there. Those lines are actually on the pattern already. So we're going to sew from the edge of the pant all the way to that point, and from the point I'm marking here all the way to the bottom. Now, you don't want to sew this part. It is about 6 inches wide. This is where you're actually going to put your hand into the pocket. Make sure to not sew that up. And you should have your pocket all sewn up just like this. So make sure to do it obviously for both sides as well. At this point, your pants are pretty much done. I have my pocket inside. You want to make sure to also place your pocket facing the front pleats and not the back. So I just went ahead and actually pinned this down a little just so I'm able to visually see it, and you know, it doesn't move to the back later on. So I'm just pinning this down just for safety measures. But the next thing we're going to do is to actually attach our waist facing. So the waist facing again is right here. You have this. I attach my interfacing fabric to it so it's a little stiffer, and then we're going to attach the back piece to the front piece. So now I'm just attaching the back piece to the front piece, and we're going to sew this also at 5/8 of an inch. So I went ahead and actually sewed this on the sewing machine, and the next thing we're going to do is to actually attach this to the waist. So again, you want to make sure to put right size to right size with the waistband. Make sure that all the notches are matching. Make sure the front is the front, and the side seams are also matching the side seams. Now when you're attaching this waistband, you also want to make sure that your pleats are also nice and flat, so you're not having any folds anywhere or anything is bubbling. Your pleats in the front are nice and flat. Sometimes you will have the waistband actually go over. You can go right ahead and actually trim this once you've actually sewn it on the sewing machine. So I actually went ahead and sewed this all up in the sewing machine, and I also pressed this. Make sure to always press. Now the next thing we're going to do is to actually tack the facing down. Now make sure your pocket is laying nice and flat, and we're just going to use the facing to cover up that ugliness in the zipper, and we're just going to basically hand sew this as fast as we can. So you want to make sure to attach the facing to the zipper part, but then again you also want to make sure to attach the facing to the pants itself. Now we're not going to sew all the way across the facing. You just want to make sure to tack them at various points. So below the facing, I'm just folding in about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm just tacking at various points, like the side seams, like the pockets. I'm just tacking it down with my thread and needle, making sure that the facing stays nice and flat. So the next step is to actually attach belt loops. Now you don't have to attach belt loops if you don't want to. This is very optional. So I went ahead and actually sewed down a strip of fabric and edge stitched it, and we're going to use this to create the belt loops. So the belt loops are about 4 inches long, so you want to make sure to actually measure 4 strips of 4 inches. So I'm measuring 4 strips of 4 inches long fabric, and this is what we're going to use for the belt loops. So the belt loops, just like a regular belt loop, we're going to attach this right at the princess seams at the front and also the princess seams at the back. So I'm just going ahead and actually pinning this down right there. We're going to sew that down and go up and also top stitch this at the top. Belts loops are super easy to sew down. Again, you want to make sure to put them at the princess seam. You want to make sure to sew it down like that, exactly the way I'm pinning it, and also just top stitch it right at the edge of your pant. So you want to make sure to do this at the front and also the princess seams at the back. So I went ahead and sewed this down. As you guys can see, the belt loops can be used obviously for putting belts, but you want to make sure to have a nice looking belt loop. So last but not the least is to actually finish up the hem of the pants. So to finish up the hem of the pants, I folded down 1/4 of an inch, and I also folded down an inch. Now we're going to top stitch this on the sewing machine. Now you could press this down. It makes it easier to sew when you're sewing it up. So after finishing up the hem, that is pretty much the end of your Palazzo pants, and it also complements the top. So we're finally at the end of this tutorial. I'm telling you, it was super easy, super fun to put together. I'm so proud of how these pants came out. Like, it is definitely what I'm going to be wearing all summer. I mean, maybe not every day, but I'm definitely going to be wearing it all summer. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give the video a big thumbs up. And if you have any questions in terms of sizing and anything, basically, please make sure to scroll down and leave me a couple of words. If you do make these pants, I'm super excited to see how yours look. So please tag me in all your photos at Dami@DayNikeX on Instagram. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, make sure to hit down that red subscribe button to see more awesome videos from me, and I hope to catch you awesome sew addicts next week.